By show of hands, who in the room has ever had a challenge and seemed you had no solution for it? Thank you. Martin Luther says, faith is taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase. Mr. President, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guests. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the concept of faith from the perspective of Christianity and the perspective of psychology. According to the Dictionary of Psychology, faith is defined as unwavering loyalty and belief in a certain concept. This psychological approach to the understanding of faith offers account of faith in terms of underlying psychological determinants. These are needs, motivation, tendencies, beliefs of an individual. Austrian psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud developed ideas on underlying motives that shape human behavior and mind, and he applied this to his study of faith. And one of his best-known ideas regarding faith centered on individual wish to have a protective figure with whom he or she feels identified. According to Wikipedia, faith in Christianity is often discussed in terms of believing God's promises, although unproven, but being faithful that you act. In other words, if you're Christian, you have a Bible. And in the Bible, there are promises. And each promise is attached to every need we have. In other words, if I may explain better, every need we have in life, there is a promise in the Bible attached to that scripture. But of course, the scripture doesn't just appear like that. Depending on what you need, if you're believing God to be married, if you're single, and you're looking for a partner, there's a scripture attached to that. But it's not only believing it, there are other things that need to be done. We've heard from our love guru, Afia. She's missing today. She can give us tips on that, on how you can activate that scripture so that it can come to pass. Now, looking from both perspectives, how the concept of faith is applied, there's one thing in common: the Christianity perspective and the psychology perspective. That is believing. Whichever way you go, you have to believe. If you're Christian, you have to believe the promises of God. If you're a psychologist, or if you believe in psychology, you have to believe in that concept until you see it work. That's one thing in common in both perspectives. Looking back 2 years ago, I believe some of you had this story. I had a permanent job and I had to stand down because I had a goal. I had a dream. I wanted to work for myself. On this journey, I encountered challenges. And one of the challenges I encountered was I wasn't earning enough money to pay my bills and save. So quickly, I had to work out a plan on how to come out of this dilemma. I had to apply for jobs in 2 agencies. Why agency? Because the idea behind this, that if I don't get shifts with the agency, I can quickly get a client and work on it. So basically I wanted to juggle between pursuing my goal of having a business, but also earn. So after the first year, I evaluated what I had, and it wasn't enough. And I said, no, this is not working. I've been working hard. I've gone back to JOB. Still, I'm not earning enough. So I had to work out a plan of what I wanted. But it was impossible to get this plan because what I was looking for was an office job. And as most of you work in offices, you know, it's always 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And I didn't want to do that. All I wanted is to work a few days in the week. Then I still have other days I can work on my businesses. I said, okay, it's not possible, but I'm going to write this impossible plan down. I wrote down the number of hours I wanted, roughly how much I want to get paid, and what area I wanted to work in, or which industry. But it seemed impossible. I started looking for this job, believing that I'll get it. I wanted to work less than 30 to 35 hours. That's 4 days a week. Believe me, I got the job. I believed I would get it. How did I get it? I found it on the internet, applied. Some of us were, a few of us, but they picked only one person. Oh, 2 people. So I worked there. Unfortunately, the job ended within 1 month and I had to leave. But while I was there, I just said a scripture, because I'm a Christian, and say, everywhere your feet steps, I've given you. So I said, okay, I'm leaving after 1 month, but one day I'll be back here. I went on to do other things, continue with my business, doing temp work. Guess what happened after 2 months? I was still believing that somehow, somewhere, I'll go back. I was applying this concept of faith. And 2 months later, I was called for the same job. I told them, obviously, I can't do the job because I'm already working somewhere part-time. And I said to them, I can only do 3 days a week. They accepted, they took me on. But how did I get there? Applying this concept of faith, believing that I'll get it. Eventually, I was allowed, and I'm still working there. With my own terms, I work there a few days a week, and I can still pursue my dream. You might be sitting in the room here today saying, Florence, I've never applied this concept of faith with, the things I'm believing for. How do I go about it? I have everything, but I've worked for it. I've gone to school. I've got degrees. And because of that, I'm in the job I am in. 3 things that help me to operate in this concept. Number 1, I make affirmations. For example, if I'm believing for that particular job or whatever business, I make affirmations in line with what I'm believing for. Because the more I say it, the more my faith increases to believe in the unseen. So really, you're believing in the unseen. You don't know whether it will happen, but you believe you'll get there. I just make affirmations. I'm married. I've got this job. I'm not married yet, sorry. But I'm just giving an example. You can make affirmations to increase your level of faith, even if you're afraid. Number 2, I listen to messages in line to what I'm believing for. Why do I do that? To help me to increase the level of what I'm believing for, the level of faith of what I'm believing for. And lastly, I read books in line with what I'm believing for. So ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to apply this in your life. It works. Christian, non-Christian, it works. As I explained at the beginning, the perspective of a psychologist and a Christian is all about believing. And you can get where you want to be. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Florence. Now we're going to move on to the speech evaluations. And up first, we have Estela giving her first evaluation at the club. So please give Estela a very, very warm welcome.
Thank you, Toastmasters. So I had to evaluate Florence today. I really like Florence. She, in this occasion, she was repeating a speech, the concept of faith, from the Speaking to Inform manual, and her task was to research and analyze an abstract concepts. In this case, it was faith. And I found the speech very, very interesting. I really liked how she, her predisposition when she starts speaking. She always has a very nice energy around her, very pleasant and very calm. She's very confident. It's like someone's going to tell you a really good story. She engaged the audience with a question, first of all, and then she introduces the speech, which is a technique that I really like. I might steal it for myself. So I really like that point. And then she introduces the speech, explaining what she's going to talk about. She gives us the structure, which it was very well structured. She explains how she's going to split it into the Christian side and the psychology side. One recommendation in the structure, even though it was very clear from the beginning what the structure was going to be, I think she leaned a little bit towards the Christian side of things more than the psychology side of things. And I felt like I could have listened to the psychology perspective a little bit more for a little bit longer, but it was very well structured. I really love the predisposition, as I said, her smiles, her gestures. She's got lovely hands that she moves. She was standing up. One recommendation here, and is what I did last week as well, don't stand against the light because we cannot see your lovely face, and that's what I did as well last week. So let's try and face the light so everybody can see us. But she always stands up, which is something that we really appreciate when we are doing these meetings online. And then I really like that she introduces some humor, like when she said that she wasn't married, even though this is one of her affirmations. I like how she enumerates with her fingers, so it's very clear that what she's going to say. And her flow and tone of voice is almost like it reminds me of a preacher. So sometimes she raises her voice, like almost waking us up. And the flow is really good. So even though I love the personal connection with the speech and examples of her personal life, I feel that the personal anecdote could have been a bit shorter, a little bit more concise, to make it more powerful, and maybe give more time to explain the concept of faith, which was the point of the speech. And then what I liked most was the conclusion, where she gives us some lessons learned and 3 points that we can follow: affirmations, listen to messages, and read books. So all in all, a brilliant speech, again, delivered by Florence. Just those, a couple of recommendations from me, but I really love this speech. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Estela.